Well, Goons, final game is here, and we're going to go visit Beijing to the far east. To the far east of this screen, because it's actually the last city in order of the game. So I'm having fun here. And we have a very awesome guest here to introduce this way.
Hi everyone, my name's Espy, and I will be the co-host for this.
And what's your experience with Beijing?
I actually lived in China for about roughly a year. I minor in Mandarin language along with my civil engineering degree, so that's where my experience comes from.
Awesome. So we just mugged a Koopa, and we have obtained this purple pagoda-looking thing. Not entirely sure what it is, so I'm just going to ask this tourist to see if we can get a little heads up. If he there. And apparently, once a year, the emperor sleeps in this pagoda, praying that the farmers would have a good year. I'm not entirely sure what it is, so.
I have a faint idea what it is.
Right. Well, I'm just going to bring Yoshi in first, because as we figured out in the last video, Yoshi cannot be. You can't exit a city without Yoshi, so we might as well just get it over with and bring him in.
Of course.
So, let's see what this information kiosk is, so we can get an idea of where we are more so. And apparently the Koopas have stolen one stone from the Great Wall of China.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm sure the Great Wall of China's lost many stones over the years.
Oh, I'm certain it has too. I mean, the Great Wall was built thousands of years ago during the Qin dynasty, which is the first dynasty of China that was unified.
Uh-huh.
And it was built quite a bit by quite a bit of people. So I mean, and it also went into disrepair too, because it stopped being used during the Qing dynasty, which was the last dynasty before we got the Republic of China.
Oh, so it was meant to be rebuilt.
Yes. So, but it's been in disrepair for literally hundreds of years.
Wow, so it's like the Heijune's Wall of China. Amazing.
Exactly.
Also, that nice lady helped us with what the pagoda was. It's apparently the Tower of Heaven?
The Temple of Heaven.
Temple of Heaven.
It's a Taoist temple. It was originally for heaven worship, basically, so that's why the Emperor used it, because the Emperor is literally connected to heaven, or is a son of heaven, essentially, by the mandate. So that's where he would go to pray. And actually in Chinese it's Tian Tan, and which means basically heaven altar, and Tan means a Buddhist altar.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, okay, that's fascinating. Managed to spawn a Koopa here, and I'm not sure what we got, but I don't want this woman to go away, so I'll just ask her. We managed to get the stone of the Great Wall, which took 300,000 people to build. Wow.
It really did actually take quite a few people because, one, they did it a very long time ago during the Qin dynasty. Two, the Qin emperor was not exactly the friendliest person around, and people would often die while building the wall. It would be anywhere from slaves to forced workers. In fact, after that emperor died, the Qin dynasty immediately fell because his regime was just so oppressive.
So basically they were like, woof-wee! And they just stopped doing everything.
Essentially, yes, and a new empire came from that, which is where the whole mandate of heaven thing came from, whereas if people feel that the emperor is too unjust or unfair, that heaven doesn't look upon them, and then they can switch the empire. So someone else becomes the emperor.
So some early democracy. Awesome.
Well, not really, it just was a way to get rid of your kings.
Ah, okay.
So once you had the new emperor, they would keep doing until basically a flood happened, or just something that made them think that heaven took it away, and then a new empire would raise in its place.
So we now obtain just some sort of gate, and this gate, apparently, only the emperor could pass through it. I'm not entirely sure what that could be.
Now there's two major gates that usually get referenced in Chinese history, and that's the Gate of China, Zhonghua-Man, which is no longer today in existence because that was replaced by Mao Zedong's place of mausoleum. And then there's Tiananmen, which is the Gate of Heavenly Peace, which was the gate into the imperial city, basically.
Awesome.
And there's also a picture of Mao Zedong on it too.
Awesome. Well, that's the one we got, the Gate of Heavenly Peace, which the gates of the Forbidden City, now known as the Palace Museum. So, yeah, pretty much.
It's actually interesting because when you mostly talk about this gate, a Western audience would only think of the Tiananmen Square massacre, which now that I said this video can't probably be posted in China now, so I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. I think to Westerners trying to get facts right about China is not something the Chinese people would enjoy when they could just go to their local library.
Or just go outside and read a plaque.
Pretty much.
There's history everywhere in Beijing because it's such an ancient city. Not the most ancient city, but a pretty ancient city, and pretty much the last capital of China after this last change.
Right.
Because the last capital before that was Nanjing, which is still a city today.
Oh yes, Nankin. Yeah. So I managed to figure out that the Tower of Heaven comes from the Good Harvest Hall. Again, 2 facts from this guy, 15th century and 20. So that pretty much syncs up with the Taoist thing, being of Taoist origin. Let's see. Moving around.
It's actually interesting too, because there were several other temples built alongside the Temple of Heaven, and that was the Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Earth, and the Temple of the Moon.
Wow, very mystical. So, alright. Right, so the Gate of Heavenly Peace, I'm kind of surprised by that. And I'm surprised that they would say as the Gate of Heavenly Peace in the NES version, when you just said it was basically Tiananmen.
Everyone knows it. I mean, when you say Tiananmen, Tiananmen, everyone knows about it. Well, Tiananmen Square, which is right in front of the gate. And then on the opposite side is where the mausoleum's at, so...
Right. So the pagoda thing we've now realized is the Hall of Good Harvest, and we're finally going to return.
Okay, so we're returning basically a part of a temple to the rest of the temple complex.
Yep. And now we have a fact here. The Great Hall was built without...
I'd hope it's not air conditioning, because they didn't really have that back then.
Well, air conditioning would be windows, wouldn't it?
Yes, and interestingly enough, the Chinese did not actually have glass windows for a very long time, because they did not know how to make glass. So most ancient Chinese windows were actually just wood frames and were open.
Wow, that makes sense. Alright, here's the police officer. One of the rarer characters to find. So,
I'll be honest, I didn't really have that much great relations with Chinese police, so probably not the best person to be talking to.
Oh dear. Well, thankfully this one is nice, because he tells us that this brick, which is actually a stone, belongs in, of course, the Great Wall, which is 3,946 miles long.
Of course, because Chinese people totally use miles.
Well, I'm not sure they use miles or kilometers. It's been a while since I played Sleeping Dogs, and that's Hong Kong, which has a lot of British influences anyway, so...
Yeah, just a little bit. But no, China also uses kilometers. It's pretty much every country in the world that's not named America uses kilometers.
Right. Well, we use miles as well in Britain. So, okay, how long is the Great Wall? Has your memory been good for 20 seconds?
I don't know, maybe it is 300,000 kilometers, which is about 186,000 miles or so, give or take. That's
basically the Trans-Siberian Railway? No, wait, that's nowhere near that long.
I mean, if you want to put a wall all around China, like, all of it...
Yeah.
Just, make it...
Fourth largest country in the world, it's possible.
Maybe. You might have to make it a little redundant, and make a second wall.
Oh, I'd also like to point out that if you use a pipe and you haven't finished everything in a city, all you do is to teleport to another pipe. You literally cannot leave until you have Yoshi and you finished everything. And I'm pretty sure this is true in all the other versions. Actually, the SNES and the PC versions have a different way of stopping you leaving the city, which is quite adorable. So, that's Beijing. And we got a lot more information than we bargained for, but it was all worth it in the end. So,
I mean, this is supposed to be a learning game, isn't it?
Exactly, and if the game is going to do its best in learning, then why not us? Now, especially now that we have the powers of the internet.
Of course.
And our own education.
Of course.
So, I'd like to thank my guest, Espy, for being amazingly informative and incredibly up-to-date about information regarding Beijing.
As up-to-date as you can be. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, and I'll see you all in some other city. Goodbye.
Bye.